The Dirge by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Old winter was gone, in his weakness back to the mountains hoar, and spring came down from the planet that hovers upon the shore, where the sea of sunlight encroaches on the limits of wintry night. If the land and the air and the sea rejoice not when spring approaches, we did not rejoice in thee, Ginevra. She is still, she is cold on the bridal couch. One step to the white deathbed, and one to the charm, and one, oh where, a dark arrow fled in the noon. Oh, the sun through heaven once more has rolled the reds in her heart that have made the nest, and the worms be alive in her golden hair, that the spirit that guides the sun sits frowned in his flaming chair. She shall sleep. A Summer Evening Churchyard by Percy Bysshe Shelley. The wind has swept from the white atmosphere each vapour that obscured the sunset ray, and pallid evening twines its beaming hair in duskier braids around the languid eyes of day. Silence and twilight, unbeloved of man, creep hand in hand from yon obscurest glen. They breathe their spells towards the departing day, encompassing the earth, air, stars, and sea. Light, sound, and motion on the potent sway, responding to the charm with its own mystery. The winds are still, or the dry church tower grass knows not their gentle motions as they pass. Though too, aerial pile, whose pinnacles point from one shrine like pyramids of fire, obeys in silence the sweet solemn spells, clothing in hues of heaven by dim and distant spire, around whose lessening and invisible height gather among the stars the clouds of light. The dead are sleeping in their sepulchres, and mouldering as they sleep, a thrilling sound, half sense, half thought, among the darkness stirs, breathed from their warmy beds or living things around, and mingling with the still night and mute sky, its awful hush is felt inaudibly. Thus solemnized and softened, death is mild and terrorless as this serenest night. Here could I hope, like some inquiring child sporting on graves, the death did hide from human sight sweet secrets, or beside its breathless sleep with loveliest dreams perpetual watch did keep. Autumn by Percy Bysshe Shelley. The warm sun is failing, the bleak wind is wailing, the bare boughs are sighing, the pale flowers are dying, and the year on the earth, her deathbed, in a shroud of leaves dead, is lying. Come, months, come away from November to May, in your saddest array follow the briar of a dead cold year, and like dim shadows watch by her sepulchre. The chill rain is falling, the nipped worm is crawling, the rivers are swelling, the thunder is knelling for the year. The blithe swallows are flown, and the lizards each gone to his dwelling. Come, months, come away. Put on white, black, and grey. Let your light sister play. Ye follow the briar of a dead cold year, and make her grave green with tea on tea. England in 1819 by Percy Bysshe Shelley. An old, mad, blind, despised, and dying king, princes, the dregs of their dull race, who flow through public scorn, mud from a muddy spring, rulers who neither see nor feel nor know, but leech-like to their fainting country cling, till they drop, blind and blood, without a blow. A people starved and stabbed in the untilled field, an army which liberty's sight and prey makes as a two-edged sword to all who wield golden and sanguine laws which tempt and slay, religion Christless, godless, a book sealed, a senate, time's worst statute unrepealed, are graves from which a glorious phantom may burst to illume our tempestuous day. Hail to thee, Blithe Spirit by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Hail to thee, Blithe Spirit, bird thou never wert, that from heaven or near it pourest thy full heart in profuse strains of unpremeditated art. Higher still and higher, from the earth thou springest like a cloud of fire, the blue deep thou wingest, and singing still dost soar, and soaring ever singest. In the golden lightning of a sunken sun, o'er which clouds are brightening, thou dost float and run, like an unbodied joy whose race is just begun. The pale purple even melts around thy flight, like a star of heaven in the broad daylight. Thou art unseen, but yet I hear thy shrill delight. Keen as are the arrows of that silver sphere, whose intense lamp narrows in the white dawn clear, until we hardly see, we feel that it is he. How Wonderful is Death by Percy Bysshe Shelley. How wonderful is death, death and his brother sleep. One, pale as yonder waning moon, with lips of lurid blue, the other, rosy as the morn, when frowned on ocean's wave, it blushes o'er the world, yet both surpassing wonderful. Half in the gloomy power whose reign is in the tainted sepulchres seized on her sinless soul, must then that peerless form, which love and admiration cannot view without a beating heart, those azure veins which steal like streams along a field of snow, that lovely outline, which is fair as breathing marble, perish? Must putrefaction's breath leave nothing of his heavenly sight, but loathsomeness and ruin? Spare nothing but the gloomy theme on which the lightest heart might moralize? Or is it only a sweet slumber stealing our sensation, which the breath of roseate morning chaseth into darkness? Will Anthem wake again, and give that faithful bosom joy, whose sleepless spirit waits to catch light, life, and rapture from her smile? Yes, she will awake again, although her glowing limbs are motionless, and silent those sweet lips once breathing eloquence that might have soothed the tiger's rage, or fawned the cold heart of a conqueror. Her dewy eyes are closed, and on their lids, whose texture fine scarce hides the dark blue orbs beneath, the baby's sleep is pillowed. Her golden tresses shade the bosom's stainless bride, curling like tendrils of a parasite around her marble collar. Hark! Whence that rushing sound? 'Tis like the wondrous strain that round the lonely ruin swells, which, wandering on the echoing shore, the enthusiast hears at evening. 'Tis softer than the west wind's sigh, 'tis wilder than the unmeasured notes of that strange lyre whose strings the genii of a breeze sweep. Those lines of rainbow light are like the moonbeams when they fall through some cathedral window, but the taints are such as may not find comparison on earth. Behold the chariot of a fairy queen, celestial coursers pour the unyielding air. Their filmy pennants are her word they furl, and stop obedient to the rains of light. These the queen of spells drew in, she spread a charm around the spot, and leaning graceful from the ethereal car, long did she gaze, and silently, upon the slumbering maid. Oh, not the vision powered in his dreams, when silver clouds float through the wilder brain, when every sight of lovely, wild, and grand, astonishes and raptures elevates, when fancy at a glance combines the wonders of the beautiful, so bright, so fair, so wild a shape I've ever yet beheld, as that which reigned the coursers of the air, and put the magic of her gaze upon the sleeping maid. The broad and yellow moon shone dimly through her form, but from a faultless symmetry. The pearly and pellucid car moved not the moonlight's line. It was not an earthly pageant. Those who had looked upon the sight, passing all human glory, saw not the yellow moon, saw not the mortal scene, heard not the night wind's rush, heard not an earthly sound, saw but the fairy pageant, heard but the heavenly strains that filled the lonely dwelling. The fairy's frame was as light, yon fibrous cloud that catches but the palest tinge of even, and which the straining eye can hardly seize when melting into eastern twilight's shadow, where scarce so thin, so slight, but the fair star that gems the glittering coronet of morn sheds not a light so mild, so powerful, as that which, bursting from the fairy's form, spread a purpural halloo round the scene, yet with an undulating motion swayed to her outline gracefully. From her celestial car the fair queen descended, in fright she waved her wand, circled with wreaths of amaranth. Her thin and misty form moved with the moving air, and the clear silver tones, as thus she spoke, were such as are unheard by all but gifted ear. Fairy stars, your balmiest influence shed, elements, your shafts suspend, sleep, ocean, in the rocky bounds that circle thy domain. Let not a breath be seen to stir around your grass-grown ruins hide. Let even the restless gossamer sleep on the moveless air. Soul of Ianthe, thou judged alone worthy of the envied boon that waits the good and the sincere, that waits those who have struggled and with resolute will vanquished earth's pride and meanness, burst the icy chains of custom, and have shunned the day stars of the age. Soul of Ianthe, awake, arise. Sudden arose Ianthe's soul. It stood all beautiful in naked purity, the perfect semblance of its bodily frame. Instinct with inexpressible beauty and grace, each stain of earthliness had passed away. It reassumed its native dignity and stood immortal amid ruin. Upon the couch the body lay, wrapped in the depth of slumber. Its features were fixed and meaningless, yet animal life was there, and every organ yet performed its natural functions. 'Twas a sight of wonder to behold the body and soul. The self-same lineaments, the same marks of identity were there. Yet, oh how different! One aspires to heaven, pants for its semi-eternal heritage, and ever-changing, ever-rising still wantons in endless being. The other, for a time the unwilling sport of circumstance and passion, struggles on, fleets through its sad duration rapidly, then like a useless and worn-out machine, rots, perishes, and passes. Fairy spirit, who hast dived so deep, spirit, who hast soared so high, thou the fearless, thou the mild, accept the boon thy worth hath earned, ascend the car with me. Spirit, do I dream? Is this new feeling but the vision ghost of slumber? If indeed I am a soul, a free, a disembodied soul, speak again to me. Fairy, I am the fairy. And it be to me 'tis given the wonders of the human world to keep, the secrets of the immeasurable past in the unfading consciousness of man. Those stern, unflattering chroniclers I find, the future from the cause which rises in each event I gather, not the sting which retributive memory implants in the heart bosom of a selfish man, nor that ecstatic and exulting throb which Wordsworth vaultily feels when he sums up the thoughts and actions of a well-spent day, are unforeseen, unregistered by me. And it is yet permitted me to rend the veil of mortal frailty, that the spirit, clothed in its changeless purity, may know how soonest to accomplish the great end for which it hath its being, and may taste that peace which in the end all life will share. This is the meed of virtue, happy soul, as can the car with me. The chains of earth's immurement fell from Ianthe's spirit. They shrank and brake like bandages of straw beneath a vacant giant's strength. She knew her glorious change, and felt in apprehension uncontrolled new raptures opening round. Each daydream of a mortal life, each frenzied vision of her slumbers that closed each well-spent day seemed now to meet reality. The fairy and the soul proceeded. The silver clouds disparted. And as the car of magic they ascended, again the speechless music swelled, again the coursers of the air unfurled their azure pennants, and the queen, shaking the beamy reins, bade them pursue their way. The magic car moved on. The night was fair, and countless stars studded heaven's dark blue vault. Just o'er the eastern wave peeped the first faint smile of morn. The magic car moved on from the celestial hoofs. The atmosphere and flaming sparkles flew, and where the burning wheels eddied above the mountain's loftiest peak, was traced a line of lightning. Now it flew far above the rock, the utmost verge of earth, the rival of the ants, whose dark brow lowered over the silver sea. Far, far below the chariot's path, calm as a slumbering babe, tremendous ocean lay. The mirror of its stillness showed the pale and waning stars, the chariot's fiery track, and the grey light of morn tinging those fleecy clouds that canopied the dawn. Seemed it that the chariot's way lay through the midst of an immense concave radiance of million constellations, tinged with shades of infinite colour, and semicircled with a belt flashing incessant meteors. The magic car moved on. As they approached the goal, the cursor seemed to gather speed. The sea no longer was distinguished. Earth appeared a vast and shadowy sphere. The sun's unclouded orb rolled through the black concave. Its rays of rapid light parted around the chariot's swifter course, and fell like ocean's feathery spray dashed from the boiling surge before a vessel's prow. The magic car moved on. Earth's distant orb appeared, the smallest light that twinkles in the heaven, whilst round the chariot's way innumerable systems rolled, and countless spheres diffused and every varying glory. It was a sight of wonder. Some were horned like a crescent moon, some shed a mild and silver beam like Hesperus o'er the western sea, some dashed at warp with trains of flame like worlds to death and ruin driven, some shone like suns, and as the chariot passed, eclipsed all other light. Spirit of nature, here, in this interminable wilderness of worlds, at whose immensity even soaring fancy staggers, here is thy fitting temple. Yet not the lightest leaf that quivers to the passing breeze is less instinct with thee, yet not the meanest worm that lurks in graves and fattens on the dead, less shares thy eternal breath. Spirit of nature, thou, imperishable as the scene, here is thy fitting temple. Hymn to Intellectual Beauty by Percy Bysshe Shelley. The awful shadow of some unseen power floats, though unseen, among us, visiting this various world with as inconstant wing as summer winds that creep from flower to flower, like moonbeams that behind some piny mountain shower it visits with inconstant glance each human heart and countenance, like hues and harmonies of evening, like clouds and starlight widely spread, like a memory of music fled, like aught that for its grace may be dear and yet dearer for its mystery. Spirit of beauty, that dost consecrate with thine own hues all thou dost shine upon of human thought or form, where art thou gone? Why dost thou pass away and leave our state, this dim vast vale of tears, vacant and desolate? Ask why the sunlight not for ever weaves rainbows o'er yon mountain river, why aught should fail and fade that once is shown, why fear and dream and death and birth cast on the daylight of this earth such gloom, why man has such a scope for love and hate, despondency and hope. Now voice from some sublimer world hath ever to sage or poet these responses given, wherefore the names of demon, ghost, and heaven remain the records of their vain endeavour, frail spells whose uttered charm might not avail to sever from all we hear and all we see doubt, chance, and mutability. By light alone, like mist o'er mountains driven, or music by the night wind sent through strings of some still instrument, or moonlight on a midnight stream gives grace and truth to life's unquiet dream. Love, hope, and self-esteem, like clouds depart and come, for some uncertain moments lit. Man were immortal and omnipotent, didst thou, unknown and awful as thou art, keep with thy glorious train firm stayed within his heart. Thou messenger of sympathies, that vex and wane in lovers' eyes, thou, that to human thought art nourishment, like darkness to a dying flame, depart not as thy shadow came, depart not, lest the grave should be, like life and fear, a dark reality. While yet a boy I sought for ghosts, and sped through many a listening chamber, cave and ruin, and starlit wood, the fearful steps pursuing hopes of high talk with the departed dead. I called on poisonous names, with which our youth is fed. I was not heard, I saw them not. When musing deeply on the lot of life, at that sweet time when winds are wooing, all the vital things that wake to bring news of birds and blossoming, sudden my shadow fell on me. I shrieked and clasped my hands in ecstasy. I vowed that I would dedicate my powers to thee and thine. Have I not kept the vow? With beating heart and streaming eyes, even now I call the phantoms of 1,000 hours, each from his voiceless grave. They have envisioned bowers of studious zeal or love's delight, outwatched with me the envious night. And now that never joy illumed my brow, unlinked with hope that thou wouldst free this world from its dark slavery, that thou, O awful loveliness, wouldst give for air these words cannot express. The day becomes more solemn and serene when noon is past. There is a harmony in autumn, and a lustre in its sky, which through the summer is not heard nor seen, as if it could not be, as if it had not been. Thus led thy power, which like the truth of nature on my passive youth descended, to my onward life supply its calm, to one who worships thee, and every form containing thee, whom spirit fair thy spells did bind to fear himself and love all humankind. I bring fresh showers for the thirsting flowers, by Percy, Bysshe, Shelley. I bring fresh showers for the thirsting flowers, from the seas and the streams. I bear light shades for the leaves when laid in their noonday dreams. From my wings are shaken the dews that waken the sweet buds, every one, when rocked to rest on their mother's breast, as she dances about the sun. I wield the flail of the lashing hail, and whiten the green plains under, and then again I dissolve it in rain, and laugh as I pass in thunder. I weep for Adonais, he is dead, by Percy, Bysshe, Shelley. I weep for Adonais, he is dead. Oh, weep for Adonais, by our tears, born of the frost which binds so dear a head. And thou, sad hour, selected from all years to mourn our loss, rouse thy obscure compeers, and teach them thine own sorrow. Say, with me did Adonais till the future dares forget the past, his fate and fame shall be an echo and delight unto eternity. Where wert thou, mighty mother, when he lay, and thy son lay, pierced by the shaft which flies in darkness? There was the Lord Rainier when Adonais died. With veiled eyes, mid listening echoes in her paradise, she sate, while one, with soft and armored breath, rekindled all the fading melodies, with which, like flowers that mock the corse beneath, he had adorned and hid the coming bulk of death. Oh, weep for Adonais, he is dead. Wake, melancholy mother, wake and weep. Yet therefore, quench within their burning bed thy fiery tears, and let thy loud heart keep, like his, a mute and uncomplaining sleep. For he is gone, where all things wise and fair descend. Oh, dream not that we Morrow steep, but yet restore him to the vital air. Death feeds on his mute voice and laughs at our despair. Most musical of mourners, weep again, lament anew, O Rainier. He died, who was the sire of an immortal strain, blind, old, and lonely, when his country's pride, the praise, the slay, and the liberty seat, trampled and mocked with many a loud reed of lust and blood. He went, unterrified, into the gulf of death. But his clear spirit yet reigns o'er earth, the third among the sons of light. Most musical of mourners, weep anew, not all to that bright station dare to climb. And happy are they the happiness who knew, whose tapers yet burn through that night of time in which the suns perished. Others more sublime, struck by the envious wrath of man or god, have sunk, extinct in their refulgent prime. And some yet live, treading the thorny road which leads through toil and hate to fame's serene abode. But now thy youngest, dearest one has perished, the nursling of thy widowhood, who grew like a pale flower by some sad maiden cherished, and fed with true love tears instead of dew. Most musical of mourners, weep anew, and by extreme hope thy loveliest and the last, the bloom, whose petals nipped before they blew, died on the promise of a fruit is waste, where broken lily lies the storm is overpast. To that high capital, where kingly death keeps his pale court in beauty and decay, he came, and bought with price of purest breath a grave among the eternal. Come away, haste, while the vault of blue Italian days yet his fitting carnal roof, while still he lies, as if in dewy sleep he lay. Awaken not, surely he takes his fill of deep and liquid rest, forgetful of all air. He will awake no more, oh, nevermore. Within the twilight chamber spreads apace the shadow of white death, and at the door invisible corruption waits to trace his extreme way to her dim dwelling place. The eternal hunger sits, but pity o'er, soothe the pale rage, nor dares she to deface a fair prey. Till darkness and the law of change shall o'er his sleep a mortal curtain draw. If I walk in autumn's even, by Percy, Bysshe, Shelley. If I walk in autumn's even, while the dead leaves pass, if I look on spring's soft heaven, something is not there which was. Winter's wondrous frost and snow, summer's clouds, where are they now? Lift not the painted veil which thou who live call life, by Percy, Bysshe, Shelley. Lift not the painted veil which those who live call life, though unreal shapes be pictured there, and it but mimic all we would believe, with colours idly spread. Behind lurk fear and hope, twin destinies. Whoever weave their shadows over the chasm, sightless and drear. I knew one who had lifted it. He sought, for his lost heart was tender, things to love, but found them not, alas! Nor was there aught the world contains, the which he could approve. Through the unheeding many he did move, a splendour among shadows, a bright blot upon this gloomy scene, a spirit that strove for truth, and like a preacher found it not. Misery, by Percy, Bysshe, Shelley. Come, be happy, sit near me, shadow-vested misery, coy, unwilling, silent bride, mourning in thy robe of pride, desolation, defeat. Come, be happy, sit near me, sad as I may seem to thee, I am happier far than thou, lady, whose imperial brow is diademed with woe. Misery, we have known each other, like a sister and a brother, living in the same lone home many years. We must live some hours or ages yet to come. 'Tis an evil lot, and yet let us make the best of it. If love can live and pleasure dies, we two will laugh till in our eyes this heart's hell seem paradise. Come, be happy, lie thee down on the fresh grass newly mown, where the grasshopper doth sing merrily, one joyous thing in a world of sorrowing. There our tent shall be the willow, and mine arm shall be my pillow. Sounds and odours, sorrowful because they once were sweet, shall lull us to slumber deep and dull. Ah, thy frozen pulses flutter with a laugh thou darest not utter. Thou art murmuring, thou art weeping. Is thine icy bosom leaping, while my burning heart lies sleeping? Kiss me, oh, thy lips are cold, round my neck, thine arms enfold. They are soft, but chill and dead, and thy tears upon my head burn like points of frozen lead. Hasten to the bridal bed, underneath the grave to spread. In darkness may our laugh be hid, oblivion be our coverlid, we may rest and none forbid. Clasp me till our hearts be grown like two shadows into one, till this dreadful transport may like a vapour fade away in the sleep that lasts alway. We may dream in that long sleep that we are not those who weep, even as pleasure dreams of thee, life-deserting misery, thou mayst dream of her with me. Let us laugh and make our mirth at the shadows of the earth, as dogs bay the moonlight clouds which like spectres wrapped in shrouds, pass our night in multitudes. All the wide world beside us show like multitudinous puppets passing from a scene. What but mockery can they mean, where I am, there thou hast been? Ode to Liberty by Percy Bysshe Shelley. A glorious people vibrated again the lightning of the nations. Liberty, from heart to heart, from tower to tower, our Spain, scattering contagious fire into the sky, gleamed. My soul spurned the chains of its dismay, and, in the rapid plums of song, clothed itself sublime and strong. As a young eagle soars the morning clouds among, hovering in verse o'er its accustomed prey, till from its station in the heaven of fame the spirit's whirlwind wrapped it, in the ray of a remotest sphere of living flame, which paves the void, was from behind it flung, as foam from a ship's swiftness, when there came a voice out of the deep. I will record the same. The sun and the serenest moon sprang forth. The burning stars of the abyss were hurled into the depths of heaven. The daedal earth, that island in the ocean of the world, hung in its cloud of all-sustaining air. But this divinest universe was yet a chaos and a curse. For thou wert not, but power from verse producing verse. The spirit of the beasts was kindled there, and of the birds, and of the watery forms. And there was war among them, and despair within them, raging without truce or terms. The bosom of their violated nurse groaned, for beasts warred on beasts, and worms on worms, and man on man. Each heart was as a hell of storms. Man, the imperial shape, then multiplied his generations under the pavilion of a sun's throne, palace and pyramid, temple and prison, to many a swarming million, were, as the mountain wolves, their ragged caves. This human living multitude was savage, cunning, blind, and rude, for thou wert not, but over popular solitude, like one fierce cloud over a waste of waves, hung tyranny. Beneath sate defeat the sister pest, congregator of slaves. Into the shadow of opinions white, anarchs and priests, who feed on golden blood, till the festain their inmost souls are dyed, drove the astonished herds of men from every side. The nodding promontories and blue isles and cloud-like mountains and dividious waves of Greek bask glorious in the open smiles of favouring heaven. From their enchanted caves prophetic echoes flung the melody in the unapprehensive wild. The vine, the corn, the olive mild grew savage yet to human use unreconciled. And like unfolded flowers beneath the sea, like the man's thought dark in the infant's brain, like aught that is, which wrapped what is to be, our deathless dreams lay veiled by many a vein of Parian stone, and yet a speechless child, verse murmured, and philosophy did strain her lidless eyes for thee, when o'er the Aegean main Athens arose. A city such a vision builds from the purple cracks and silver towers of battle-mended clouds, as in derision of kingliest masonry. The ocean floors pave it, the evening sky pavilions it. Its portals are inhabited by thunder-zoned winds, each head within its cloudy wings with sunfire garlanded, a divine work. Athens diviner yet gleamed with its crest of columns, and the will of man as on a mound of diamond set. For thou wert, and thine all creative skill peopled the forms that mock the eternal dead in marble immortality, that hill which was thine earliest throne and latest oracle. Within the surface of time's fleeting river its wrinkled image lies, as when it lay immovably unquiet, and forever it trembles, but it cannot pass away. The voices of thy bards and sages thunder with an earth-awakening blast through the caverns of the past. Religion veils her eyes, oppression shrinks aghast, a winged sound of joy and love and wonder, which soars where expectation never flew, rending the veil of space and time asunder. One ocean feeds the clouds, and streams, and dew. One sun illumes heaven, One spirit vast of life and love makes chaos ever new, as Athens do for birth the mighty light renew. When Rome was, and from thy deep bosom fairest, like a wolf club from a Cadmean mand, she drew the milk of greatness, while thy dearest from that Elysian food was yet unweaned, and many a deed of terrible uprightness by the sweet love was sanctified. And in thy smile and by thy side saintly Camillus lived, and firm Attilus died. But when tears stained thy robe of vestal whiteness, and gold profaned thy Capitolian throne, thou didst desert, with spirit-winged lightness, the senate of thy tyrants. They sunk prone slaves of one tyrant. Platinus sighed faint echoes of Ionian song, the tone thou didst delay to hear, lamenting to disown. From what Eurasian glen or frozen hill, or piny promontory of the Arctic main, or utmost islets inaccessibly, didst thou lament the ruin of a reign, teaching the woods and waves and desert rocks, and every Naiad's ice-cold urn, to talk in echoes sad and stern, of that sublimest law which man had dared unlearn, for neither didst thou watch the wizard flocks of a skull's dreams, nor horn the druid's sleep. What if the tears rained through thy shattered locks were quickly dried, for thou didst groan, not weep, when from its sea of death to kill and burn the Galilean serpent forth did creep, and make thy world an undistinguishable heap. 1,000 years the earth cried, Where art thou? And when the shadow of thy coming fell on Saxon Alfred's olive-cinctured brow, and many a warrior people's citadel, like rocks which fire lifts out of a flat deep, arose in sacred Italy, frowning over a tempestuous sea of kings and priests and slaves and tower-crowded majesty. That multitudinous anarchy did sweep and burst around their walls like idle foam, whilst from the human spirit's deepest deep strange melody with love and awe struck dumb dissonant arms. And art which cannot die, with divine wand traced on our earthly home, fit imagery to pave heaven's everlasting dome. Out to the West Wind by Percy Bysshe Shelley. O wild, wild wind, thou breath of autumn's being, thou from whose unseen presence the leaves dead are driven, like ghosts from an enchanter fleeing, yellow and black and pale and hectic red, pestilence-stricken multitudes, or thou who chariot'st to their dark wintry bed the winged seats, there they lie cold and low, each like a corpse within its grave, until thine azure sister of the spring shall blow a clarion o'er the dreaming earth, and fill, driving sweet birds like flocks to feed in air, with living hues and odours plain and hill. Wild spirit, which art moving everywhere, destroyer and preserver, here, oh here, thou on whose stream, mid the steep sky's commotion, loose clouds like earth's decaying leaves are shed, shook from the tangled walls of heaven and ocean, angels of rain and lightning. They are spread on the blue surface of thine arid surge, like the bright hair uplifted from the head of some fierce Maenad, even from the dim verge of a horizon to the zenith's height, the locks of the approaching storm, O dirge of a dying year, to which this closing night will be the dome of a vast sepulchre, vaulted with all thy congregated might of vapours, from whose solid atmosphere black rain and fire and hail will burst. O hear, thou who didst waken from his summer dreams the blue Mediterranean, there he lay lulled by the coil of his crystalline stream, beside a pumice isle in Theia's bay, and saw in sleep old palaces and towers quivering within the waves' intenser day, all overgrown with azure moss and flowers so sweet, the sense faints picturing them, thou for whose path the Atlantic's level powers cleave themselves into chasms, while far below the sea blooms and the oozy woods, which were the sapless foliage of the ocean, know thy voice, and suddenly grow grey with fear, and tremble and despoil themselves. O hear, If I were a dead leaf from mightiest sphere, if I were a swift cloud to fly with thee, a wave to pant beneath thy power, and share the impulse of thy strength, only less free than thou, O uncontrollable, if even I were as in my boyhood, and could be the comrade of thy wanderings over heaven, as when to outstrip the sky at speed scarce seemed vision, I would ne'er have striven as thus with thee in prayer in some sore need. Oh, lift me as a wave, a leaf, a cloud. I fall upon the thorns of life, I bleed. A heavy weight of hours has chained and bowed one too like thee, tameless and swift and proud. Make me thy lyre, even as the forest is. What if my leaves are falling like its own? The tumult of thy mighty harmonies will take from both a deep autumnal tone. Sweet thou in sadness, be thou, spirit fierce my spirit, be thou me, impetuous one. Drive my dead thoughts over the universe like withered leaves to quicken a new birth, and by the incantation of this verse scatter as from an unextinguished hearth ashes and sparks the words among mankind. Be through my lips to unawakened earth the trumpet of a prophecy. O wind, winter comes, can spring be far behind? Ozymandias by Percy Bysshe Shelley. I met a traveller from an antique land who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them, on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor will those passions read which yet survive, stamped on these lifeless figs, the hand that mocked them and the heart that fed. And on the pedestal these words appear: My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains, round the decay of that colossal wreck. Boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away." Political Greatness by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Nor happiness, nor majesty, nor fame, nor peace, nor strength, nor skill in arms are ours. Shepherd those herds whom tyranny makes tame. Verse echoes not one beating of their hearts. History is but the shadow of their shame. Art veils her glass, or from the pageant starts, as to oblivion their blind millions fleet, staining that heaven with obscene imagery of their own likeness. What are numbers knit by force or custom? Man who man would be must rule the empire of himself. In it must be supreme, establishing his throne on vanquished will, quelling the anarchy of hopes and fears, being himself alone. Prometheus, Monarch of Gods and Demons by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Prometheus, Monarch of Gods and Demons, and all spirits but one, who throng those bright and rolling worlds, which thou and I alone of living things behold with sleepless eyes, regard this earth made multitudinous with thy slaves, whom thou requirest for knee worship, prayer and praise and toil. And hecatombs of broken hearts, with fear and self-contempt and barren hope, whilst me, who am thy foe, eyeless in hate, hast thou made reign and triumph to thy scorn, O mine own misery and thy vain revenge. 3,000 years of sleep, unsheltered hours, and moments I divided by keen pangs, till they seemed years, torture and solitude, scorn and despair, these are mine empire. More glorious far than that which thou survey'st from thine unenvied throne, Almighty God, Almighty, had I deigned to share the shame of thine ill tyranny, and hung not here nailed to this wall of eagle-baffling mountain, black, wintry, dead, unmeasured, without herb, insect, or beast, or shape, or sound of life. Ah me, alas, pain, pain ever, forever. No change, no pause, no hope, yet I endure. I ask the earth, have not the mountains felt? I ask yon heaven, the all-beholding sun, has it not seen? The sea, in storm or calm, heaven's ever-changing shadow spread below, have its death waves not heard my agony? Ah me, alas, pain, pain, ever, forever. The crawling glaciers pierce me with the spears of their moon-freezing crystals. The bright chains eat with their burning cold into my bones. Heaven's winged hound, polluting from thy lips, his beak in poison not his own, tears up my heart, and shapeless sights come wandering by, the ghastly people of a realm of dream, mocking me. And the earthquake fiends are charged to wrench the rivets from my quivering bones when the rocks split and close again behind. While from their loud abyss howling throng the genii of a storm, urging the rage of whirlwind, and afflict me with keen hail. And yet to me welcome is day and night, whether one breaks the hoar-frost of the morn, or starry, dim, and slow, the other climbs the leaden-coloured east. For then they lead the wingless, crawling hours, one among whom, as some dark priest hates the reluctant victim, shall drag thee, cruel king, to kiss the blood from these pale feet, which then might trample thee, and why disdained not such a prostrate slave? Disdain unknown, I pity thee. What ruin will hunt thee undefended through the wide heaven? How will thy soul, cloven to its depth with terror, gape like a hell within? I speak in grief, not exultation, for I hate no more, as when a misery made me wise. The curse once breathed on thee I would recall, ye mountains, whose many-voiced echoes through the mist of cataracts flung the thunder of its spell, ye icy springs, stagnant with wrinkling frost, which riveted to hear me, and then crept shuddering through India, thou serenest air, through which the sun walks burning without beams, and ye swift whirlwinds, who on poisoned wings hung mute and moveless o'er yon hushed abyss, as thunder, louder than your own, made rock the orbed world. If then my words had power, though I am changed, so that all evil wish is dead within, although no memory be of what is hate, let them not lose it now. What was that curse? For ye all heard me speak. Sweet Spirit by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Sweet Spirit, sister of that orphan one, whose empire is the name thou weepest on, in my heart's temple I suspend to thee these votive breaths of vivid memory. Poor captive bird, who from thy narrow cage pourest such music, that it might assuage the rugged hearts of those who prisoned thee, were they not deaf to all sweet melody. This song shall be thy rose, its petal pale are dead, indeed, my adored nightingale, but soft and fragrant is the faded blossom, and it has no thorn left to wound thy bosom. High spirit-singing heart, who dost forever beat thine unfeeling bars with vain endeavour, till those bright plums of thorn, in which arrayed, and oversought with a low and worldly shade, lie shattered, and thy panting wooded breast stains with their blood its unmaternal nest. I weep vain tears, blood would less bitter be, yet pour forth gladlier could it profit thee. To Jane by Percy Bysshe Shelley. The keen stars were twinkling, and the fair moon was rising among them, dear Jane. The guitar was tinkling, but the notes were not sweet till you sung them again. As the moon's soft splendor o'er the faint cold starlight of heaven is thrown, so your voice most tender to the strings without soul has been given its own. The stars will awaken, though the moon sleep a full hour later tonight. No leaf will be shaken whilst the dews of your melody scatter delight. Though the sound of our powers sing again, with your dear voice revealing a tone of some world far from ours, where music and moonlight and feeling are one. The Tower of Famine by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Amid the desolation of a city which was the cradle and is now the grave of an unextinguished people, so that pity weeps o'er the shipwrecks of oblivion's wave, there stands the Tower of Famine. It is built upon some prison homes, whose dwellers rave for bread and gold and blood. Pain linked to guilt agitates the light flame of the hours. until its vital oil is spent, was built. There stands the pile, a tower amid the towers and scarred domes, each marble-ribbed roof, the brazen-grated temples and the bowers of solitary wealth, the tempest-proof pavilions of the dark Italian air are by its presence dimmed. They stand aloof and are withdrawn, so that the world is bare, as if a spectre, wrapped in shapeless terror, amid the company of ladies fair, should glide and glow till it become a mirror of all the beauty and the hair and hue, the life of their sweet eyes, with all its error, should be absorbed till they to marble grow. The Woodman and the Nightingale by Percy Bysshe Shelley. A woodman whose rough heart was out of tune, I think such hearts yet never came to good, hated to hear, under the stars or moon, one nightingale in an interfluous wood satiate the hunger dark with melody. And as the vale is watered by a flood, or as the moonlight fills the open sky struggling with darkness, as the tuberose peoples some Indian delta of scents which lie, like clouds above a flower from which they rose, the singing of that happy nightingale in this sweet forest, from the golden close of evening till the star of dawn may fail, was interfused upon the silentness, the folded roses and the violets pale, heard her within their slumbers. The abyss of heaven with all its planets, the dull ear of a night-cradled earth, the loneliness of her circumfluous waters, every sphere and every flower and beam and cloud and wave, and every wind of the mute atmosphere, and every beast stretched in its rugged cave, and every bird lulled on its mossy bough, and every silver moth fresh from the grave, which is its cradle, ever from below, aspiring like one who loves to fare too far to be consumed within the purest glow of one serene and unapproached star, as if it were a lamp of earthly light, and conscious as some human lovers are, itself, how low, how high, beyond all height, the heaven where it would perish, and every form that worshipped in the temple of night was awed into delight, and by the charm girt as with an interminglable zone, whilst the sweet bird, whose music was a storm of sound, shook forth a dull oblivion out of her dreams. Harmony became love in every soul but one. And so this man returned with axe and saw at evening close from killing the tall tree, the soul of whom by nature's gentle law was each a woodman, and kept ever green the pavement and the roof of a wild copse, chequering the sunlight of a blue serene with jagged leaves, and from the forest tops singing the winds to sleep, or weeping oft fast showers of aerial water drops into the mother's bosom, sweet and soft, nature's pure tears which have no bitterness. Around the cradles of the birds aloft, they spread themselves into the loveliness of fan-like leaves, and over pallid flowers hang like moist clouds, or, where high branches kiss, make a green space among the silent bowers, like a vast fane in a metropolis surrounded by the columns and the towers, all overwrought with branch-like traceries in which there is religion and the mute persuasion of unkindled melodies, odors and gleams and murmurs, which the lute of a blind pilot spirit of a blast stirs as it sails, no grave, no acute, wakening the leaves and waves ere it has passed to such brief union as on the brain one tone, which never can recure, has cast, one accent never to return again. Time by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Unfathomable sea, whose waves are years, ocean of time, whose waters are deep, woe, are brackish with the salt of human tears. Thou shoreless flood, which in thy ebb and flow clasped the limits of mortality, and sick of prey, yet howling on for more, vomitest thy wrecks on its inhospitable shore, treacherous and calm, and terrible and storm. Who shall put forth on thee, unfathomable sea? Time long past by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Like the ghost of a dear friend dead is time long past. A tone which is now forever fled, a hope which is now forever past, a love so sweet it could not last, was time long past. There were sweet dreams in the night of time long past, and was it sadness or delight, each day a shadow onward cast, which made us wish it yet might last, that time long past. There is regret, almost remorse, for time long past. 'Tis like a child's beloved course, a father watches, till at last beauty is like remembrance cast from time long past. To the Lord Chancellor by Percy, Bysshe, Shelley. Thy country's curse is on thee, darkest crest of that full, knotted, many-headed worm, which rends our mother's bosom, priestly pest, mask resurrection of the bird form. Thy country's curse is on thee, justice sold, truth trampled, nature's landmarks overthrown, and heaps of fraud, accumulated gold, plead loud as thunder at destruction's throne. And whilst that slow, sure angel which aye stands watching the back of mutability, delays to execute her high commands, and though a nation weeps, spares a vine and thee. Ah, let the father's curse be on thy soul, and let the daughter's hope be on thy tomb, and bow from thy grey head a leaden cowl to weigh thee down to thine approaching doom. I curse thee by a parent's outraged laugh, by hopes long perished and too lately lost, by gentle feelings that couldst never prove, by griefs which thy stern nature never crossed, by those infantile smiles of happy light which were a fire within a stranger's hearth, quenched even then kindled in untimely night, hiding the promise of a lovely birth, by those unpractised accents of a young speech, which he who is a father thought to frame to gentlest law, such as the wisest teach. O strike the lyre of mind, O grief and shame, by all the happy seen children's growth, that undeveloped flower of budding years, sweetness and sadness interwoven both, source of the sweetest hopes and saddest fears. By all the days under a hurling's care of dull constraint and bitter heaviness, a wretched ye, if ever any were, sadder than orphans, yet not fatherless. By the false cant which on the innocent lips must hang like poison on an opening bloom, by the dark creeds which cover with eclipse their pathway from the cradle to the tomb, by the most impious hell and all its terrors, by all the grief, the madness, and the guilt of thine impostors, which must be their errors, that sand on which thy crumbling power is built, by the complicity with lust and hate, thy thirst for tears, thy hunger after gold, the ready frauds which ever on thee wait, the vile arts on which thou hast grown out, by the most killing sneer and by thy smile, by all the acts and snares of thy black den, and, for thou canst outweave the crocodile, by thy false tears thou smitest down braining man, by all the hate which checks a father's love, by all the scorn which kills a father's care, by those most impious hands that dared remove nature's high bounds, by thee and by despair. Yes, the despair which bids a father groan and cry, my children are no longer mine, their blood within those veins may be mine own, but tyrant, their polluted souls are thine. I curse thee, though I hate thee not, O slave, if thou couldst quench the earth-consuming hell of which thou art a demon, on thy grave this curse should be a blessing. Fare thee well. Ye that love not, be warned, by Percy, Bysshe, Shelley. Pan loved his neighbour Echo, but that child of earth and air pined for the satyr leaping. The satyr laughed with wasting madness wild, the bright nimble Lyda, and so the free went weeping. As Pan loved Echo, Echo loved the satyr Lyda, and thus love consumed them, and thus to each, which was a woeful matter to bear what they inflicted, justice doomed them. For in as much as each might hate the lover, each loving so was hated. Ye that love not be warned, in thought turn this example over, that when ye love, the like return ye prove not.
A Gentle Story of Two Lovers Young by Percy Bysshe Shelley. A gentle story of two lovers young who met in innocence and died in sorrow, and of one selfish heart whose rainbow clung like curses on them. Are ye slow to bow the law of truth with such a tale? Or in this world's deserted vale do ye not see a star of gladness pierce the shadows of its sadness, when ye are cold but love is a light sent from heaven which none shall quench to cheer the innocent? A Ghost Story by Percy Bysshe Shelley. A shovel of his ashes took from the heart's obscurest nook, muttering mysteries as she went. Helen and Henry knew that Granny was as much afraid of ghosts as any, and so they followed hard, but Helen clung to her brother's arm, and her own spasm made her shake. A Lament by Percy Bysshe Shelley. O world, O life, O time, on whose last steps I climb, trembling at that where I had stood before, when will return the glory of her prime? No more, or never more. Out of a day and night a joy has taken flight. Fresh spring and summer and winter hoar move my faint heart with grief, but with delight. No more, or never more. A New National Anthem by Percy Bysshe Shelley. God prosper, speed, and save, God raise from England's grave a murdered queen. Path of swift victory, the steps of liberty, whom Britain's own to be immortal queen. See, she comes throned on high, on swift eternity, God save the queen. Millions on millions wait, firm, rapid, and elate, on her majesty's state, God save the queen. She is thine own pure soul, moulding the mighty whole, God save the queen. She is thine own deep love, rained down from heaven above, there she rests or move, God save our queen. Wild are her enemies, in their own dark disguise, God save the queen. All earthly things that dare her sacred name to bear, strip them as kings are, there, God save the queen. Be her eternal throne, built in our hearts alone, God save the queen. Let the oppressor hold canopied seats of gold, she sits enthroned of old, o'er our heart's queen. Lips touched by seraphim, breathe out the carol hymn, God save the queen. Sweet as of angels sang, loud as the trumpets sang, waken at the world's dead gang, God save the queen. A Roman's Chamber by Percy Bysshe Shelley. In the cave which wild weeds cover, wait for thine eternal lover, for the pallid moon is warning of the spirit's press hanging, and the moon no cloud is staining. It was once the Roman's chamber, where he kept his darkest revels, and the wild weeds twine and clamber, it was then the chasm for devils. A Summer Evening Churchyard by Percy Bysshe Shelley. The wind has swept from the wild atmosphere each vapour that obscured the sunset's ray, and pallid evening twines its beaming hair, and duskier braids around the languid eyes of day. Silence and twilight, unbeloved of man, creep hand in hand from you, obscurest glen. They breathe their spells towards the departing day, encompassing the earth, air, stars, and sea. Light, sound, and motion on the portent's way, responding to the charm of its own mystery. The winds are still over dry church to grace, knows not the gentle motions as they pass. Woe to aerial pile, whose pinnacles point from one shrine like pyramids of fire, obeys in silence the sweet solemn spells, clothing in hues of heaven thy dim and distant spire, around whose lessening and invisible height gather among the stars the clouds of night. The dead are sleeping in their sepulchres, and mouldering as they sleep a thrilling sound, half sense of thought, among the darkness stirs. Breathed from the warmy beds, all living things around, and mingling with the still night and mute sky, its awful hush is felt inaudible. Thus solemnized and softened, dead is mild, and terrorless as the serenest night. Here could I hope, like some inquired child sporting on graves, that there did hide from human sight sweet secrets, recite its breathless sleep, that loveliest dreams perpetual watch did keep. A Tale Untold by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Once sung of thee who left the tale untold, like the false dawns which perish in the bursting, like empty cups of rod and dale gold, which mock the lips with air when they are thirsting. A Wanderer by Percy Bysshe Shelley. He wanders like a day-appearing dream through the dim wilderness of a mind, through desert woods and tracts which seem like ocean, homeless, boundless, unconfined. Death and Life by Percy Bysshe Shelley. My head is heavy, my limbs are weary, and it is not life that makes me move. Good Night by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Good night? Ah no, we are as ill which the weary bows that should unite. Let us remain together still, then it will be good night. How can I call the long night good, while thy sweet wishes wing its flight? Be it not said, thought understood, when it will be good night. To hearts which near each other move from evening close to morning light, the night is good, because, my love, I never say good night. Home by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Dear home, for scant of earliest hopes and joys, the least of which wrong memory ever makes bitterer than all thine unremembered tears. I would not be king, by Percy Bysshe Shelley. I would not be king enough, of woe it is to love. The path to power is steep and rough, and tempest-rained above. I would not climb the imperial throne, 'tis built on ice which fortune's sun draws in the height of noon. And farewell, king, yet were I one, care would not come so soon, but he and I were far away, keeping flocks in Himalaya. Is it that in some brighter sphere, by Percy Bysshe Shelley? Is it that in some brighter sphere we part from friends we meet with fear, or we see the future pass of the present's dusky glass? Or what is that makes us seem to patch up fragments of a dream, part of which comes true, and part beats and trembles in the heart? Liberty, by Percy Bysshe Shelley. And the fiery mountains answer each other, their thunderings are echoed from zone to zone. The tempestuous oceans awake one another, and the icebergs are shaken round winter's throne, the clarion of a typhoon is blown. From a single cloud the lightning flashes, whilst the thousand isles are illumined around. Earthquake is trampling one city to ashes, and hundred are shuddering and tottering, the sound is bellowing underground. But keener I gaze when the lightnings glare, and swifter they step when the earthquakes tramp. For the feet is the range of the ocean, by star makes blind volcanoes, the sun-spread lamp to vines of thin fire damp. From billow and mountain and exhalation, the sunlight is starting for vapor and blast. From spirit to spirit, from nation to nation, from city to hamlet, thy dawning is cast, and tyrants and slaves are like shadows of night in the van of the morning light. Life rounded with sleep, by Percy Bysshe Shelley. The baby is at peace within the womb, the corpse is at rest within the tomb. We begin in what we end. Lines to a Critic, by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Honey from silkworms who can gather, or silk from the yellow bee, or grass may grow in winter weather, as soon as hate in me. Hate men who can't, and men who pray, and men who rail like a thee. An equal passion to repay, they are not coy like me, or seek some slave of power and gold to be thy dear heart's mate. Thy love will move from bigot cold sooner than me, thy hate. A passion like the one I prove cannot divided be. I hate thy want of truth and love, how should I when hate we? Love, by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Why is it said that canst not live in the youth of breast and fair, since thou eternal life canst give, canst bloom for everywhere? Since wearying pain nor power possessed, nor age to blanch thy wormel hue, nor time's dread victor, death confessed, or bathed with his poisoned dew, still thou retainst unchanging bloom, fixed tranquil even in the tomb. And oh, when on the blessed reviving the daystar dawns of love, each energy of soul surviving more vivid, soars to both, hast thou never felt a rapturous thrill, like June's warm breath, athwart we fly, or each idle went to steer when other passions die? Felt in it some wild noonday dream, when sitting by the lonely stream, where silence says, mine is the dead, and not a murmur from the plain, and not an echo from the fell disputes the silent rain. Love, hope, desire, and fear, by Percy Bysshe Shelley. And many there were, heard by that strong boy. His name, they said, was Pleasure, and he stood glorious beyond measure, four ladies who possess all empery in earth and air and sea. Nothing that lives from their award is free. Their names will I declare to we, love, hope, desire, and fear, and they the regents are of the four elements which frame the heart, and each diversely exercise their art, by force or circumstances or sleight, to prove their dreadful might upon that poor domain. Desire presented her false glass, and when the spirit dwelling there was spellbound to embrace what seemed so fair within that magic mirror, and dazed by that bright error, it would have scorned the shafts of the avenger, and death and penitence and danger had not when silent fear touched with a pale-sighing spear, swayed as if a frozen torrent, the blood was curdled in its current. It dared not speak, even in look or motion, but chained within itself its proud devotion. Between desire and fear were word, a wretching thing, poor heart. Sad was his life who bore thee in his breast, wild bird, forward weak nest. To love even from fierce desire it bore, and from the very wound of tender thought drew solace, and the pity of sweet eyes gave strength to bear those gentle agonies, surmount the loss, the terror, and the sorrow. Then hope approached, she who can bore for poor today, for which tomorrow. And fear withdrew as night when day descends upon the orange ray, and after long and vain endurance, the poor heart woke to her assurance. At one birth these four were born, with the world's forgotten morn, and the pleasure still they hold, all its circles as of old. When the summer lures the swallow, pleasure lures the heart to follow, a weak heart of little wit, the fair hand that wounded it, seeking, like a panting hare, refuge in the lynx lair. Love, desire, hope, and fear ever will be near. Love's Philosophy, by Percy Bysshe Shelley. The fountains mingle with the river, and rivers with the ocean. The winds of heaven mix forever with sweet emotion. Nothing in the world is single, all things by a law divine. And when spirit meet and mingle, why not I with wine? See the mountains kiss a heaven, and the waves clasp one another. No sister flower would be forgiven if it disdained its brother. And the sun clasp the earth, and the moonbeams kiss the sea. What is all this sweet work worth, if thou kiss not me? Love's Rose by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Hopes that swell in youthful breasts, live not through the waste of time. Love's rose a host of thorns invest, cold, ungenial is the clime where its honours blow. Youth says, the purple flowers are mine, which die the while they glow. Dear the boon of fancy given, we attracted whilst it's granted. Sweet rose which lives in heaven, all on earth is planted, where its honours blow, while by earth's slaves the leaves are riven, which die the while they glow. Age cannot love destroy, but perfectly can blast a flower, even when in most unwearying hour it blooms in fancy's bower. Age cannot love destroy, but perfectly can rend the shrine in which its vermeil splendour shine. Love's Tender Atmosphere by Percy Bysshe Shelley. With a warm and gentle atmosphere above the form of one we love, and was as in a tender mist our spirits are wrapped in the of that which is to us the health of life's own life. Love the universe today by Percy Bysshe Shelley. And who feels discord now or sorrow, love is the universe today, we are the slaves of dim tomorrow, darkening life's labyrinthine way. Melody to a scene of former times by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Art thou indeed forever gone, forever, ever lost to me? Must this poor bosom beat alone, or beat at all, if not for we? Or why was love to mortals given, to lift them to the height of heaven, or dash them to the depths of hell? Yet I do not reproach thee, dear, I know. The agonies which swell this panting breast, this frenzied brain, might awake my slumbering tear. A heaven is witness I did laugh, and heaven does know I love thee still. Does know the fruitless sickening thrill, where reason's judgment vainly strove to blot me from my memory, but which might never, never be. Oh, I appeal to that blessed day when passion's wildest ecstasy was coldest to the joys I knew, when heavy stars sank away. Oh, I had never lived before, but now those blisses are no more, and now I choose to live again. I do not blame thee, love, ah no. The breast that feels with anguished woe throbs for thy happiness alone. 2 years of speechless bliss are gone, I thank thee dearest for the dream. This night, what faint and distant scream comes on the wild and fitful blast? It moans for pleasures that are past, it moans for days that are gone by. While lagging hours, how slow you fly, I see a dark and lengthened veil, the black view closed with tomb. But darker is the lowering gloom that shades the inverting dale. And visions slumber for a while, I seem again to share thy smile, I seem to hang upon thy tone. Again you say, confide in me, for I am thine and thine alone, and mine must ever, ever be. What our awakening still knew, athwart my anguished senses flew, a fiercer, deadlier agony. Milton's Spirit by Percy Bysshe Shelley. I dreamed that Milton's spirit rose, and took from life's green tree his Iranian lute. From his touch sweet thunder flowed, and shook all human things built in contempt of men. And sanguine thrones and impious altars quaked, prisons and citadels. Music by Percy Bysshe Shelley. I pant for the music which is diviner, my heart in its first is a dying flower. Pour forth a sound like enchanted wine, loosen the notes in a silver shower. Like a harpless plaint for a gentle rain, I gasp, I faint, till I wake again. Let me drink of spirit of its sweet sound, more, oh more, I am thirsting yet, and loosens the serpent which care has bound upon my heart to stifle it. The dissolving strain through every vein passes into my heart and brain. As a scent of a violet withered up, which grew by the brink of a silver lake, and the hot noon has drained its dewy cup, and mist there was none its first to slake, and the violet lay dead while the odour flew, and the wings of wind over the waters blew. As one who drinks from a charmed cup of foaming and sparkling and murmuring wine, whom a mighty enchantress filling up invites the love of a kiss divine. Music and Sweet Poetry by Percy Bysshe Shelley. How sweet it is to sit and read the tales of mighty poets, and to hear the wild sweet music, which when the attention fails, fills the dim pause. On a Faded Violet by Percy Bysshe Shelley. The odour from the flower is gone, which like thy kisses breathed on me. The colour from the flower is flown, which glowed of thee and only thee. A shriveled, lifeless, vacant form lies on my abandoned breast, and mocks the heart which yet is warm with cold and silent rest. I weep, my tears revive it not. I sigh, it breathes no more on me. Its mute and uncomplaining lot is such as mine should be. On Death by Percy Bysshe Shelley. the pale, the cold, and the moony smile which a meteor beam of a starless night sheds on a lonely and seagirt isle. With the dawning of morn's undoubtful light is the flame of life so fickle and wan that flits round our steps till their strength is gone. O man, hold thee on and courage of soul, for the stormy shades of thy worldly way, and the billows of cloud that around thee roll shall sleep in the light of the wondrous day. Where hell and heaven shall leave thee free for the universe of destiny. This world is the nurse of all we know, this world is the mother of all we fear, and the coming of death is a fearful blow to a brain unencompassed with nerves of steel, and all that we know or feel or see shall pass like an unreal mystery. The secret things of the grave are there, where all but this frame must surely be, or the fine wrought iron the wondrous star no longer will live to hear or to see all that is great and all that is strange in the boundless realm of unending change. Who telleth a tale of unspeaking death, who lifteth the veil of what is to come, who painteth the shadows that are beneath the wine-winning caves of a peopled tomb, or uniteth the hopes of what shall be with the fears and the laughter wit which we see? On launching some bottles filled with knowledge into the Bristol Channel, by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Vessels of heavenly medicine, may the breeze auspicious waft your dark green forms to shore. Safe may ye stem the wide surrounding roar of the wild whirlwinds and the raging seas. And oh, if liberty are dying to stop from yonder lowly throne a Cronus brow, sure she will breathe around your emerald group the fairiest breezes of the westward blow. Yes, she will waft ye to some freeborn soul, whose ideum kindly as it meets your freight, her heaven-born flame and suffering earthly light, until its radiance gleams from pole to pole, and turned hearts of pole as envy burst, to see the night of ignorance dispersed. On leaving London for Wales, by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Hail to thee, Cambria, for the unfettered winds which from the wilds even now methinks I feel, chasing the clouds that roll and raught behind, and tightening the soul's next nerves to steel. True mountain liberty alone may heal the pain which customs of durance bring, and he who dares in fancy even to steal, one draught from Snowdon's ever-sacred spring, blots out the unholy treaty of worldly witnessing. And shall that soul, so selfish peace resigned, so soon forgot to woe its fellow share? Can Snowdon's leave from the freeborn mind so soon the page of injured penury tear? Does this fine mass of human passion dare to sleep, unhonoring the patriot's fall, or life's sweet load in quietude to bear, while millions famish even luxury's hall, and tyranny, high race, stern lowers on all? Now, Cambria, never may thy matchless Wales the hearts of thoughts to hope and virtue shield, nor ever may thy spirit-breathing gales waft freshness to the slaves who dare to yield. For me, the weapon that I burn to wield, I seek amid the rocks to ruin hurled, and reason's flag may over freedom's field, symbol of bloodless victory, wave unfurled, a meteor's sign of love and fulgent over the world. Do thou, wild Cambria, calm each struggling thought, cast thy sweet veil of rocks and woods between, but by the soul to indignation wrought mountains and dales be mingled with the scene. Let me forever be what I have been, but not forever at my needy door let misery linger speechless, pale and lame. I am the friend of the unfriended poor, let me not madly stain their righteous cause in gore. Remembrance, by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Swifter far than summer's flight, swifter far than youth's delight, swifter far than happy night, art thou come and gone, as the earth when leaves are dead, as the night when sleep is sped, as the heart when joy is fled. I am left lone, alone. The swallow summer comes again, the owl at night resumes her ring, but a white swan youth is fain to fly with thee, thoughts as woe. My heart each day desires tomorrow, sleep itself is turned to sorrow, vainly would my winter bow sunny leaves for my knee bow. Lilies for bridal bed, roses for matron's head, violets for maiden dead, pansies let my flowers be. And the living grave appear, scattered them without a tear. Let no friend, however dear, waste one hope, one fear for me. Rome and Nature, by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Rome is fallen, ye see her lying, heaped in undistinguished ruin, Nature's alone undying. Summer and Winter, by Percy Bysshe Shelley. It was a bright and cheerful afternoon, towards the end of the sunny month of June, when the northern congregates and crowds floating mountains of the silver clouds on the horizon, and the stainless sky opens beyond them like eternity. All things rejoice to beneath the sun, the wheats, the river, and the cornfields and reeds, the willow leaves that glance in the light breeze, and the firm foliage of the larger trees. And it was a winter such as when birds die in the deep forests, and the fishes lie stiffened in the translucent ice, which makes even the mud and slim of the warm lakes wrinkle-clawed as hard as brick, and when among the children comfortable men gather about great fires and yet feel cold, alas then for the homeless beggar old. The Birth of Pleasure, by Percy Bysshe Shelley. and the creation of the earth, pleasure, the divinest birth, of a soul of heaven that rise, wrapped in sweet wild melodies, like an exhalation reffing into the sound of air-low breathing through alien pines, which make a shade and shelter of a lake, whence it rises soft and slow. A life-breathing limbs that flow in the harmony divine of an ever-lengthening line which enwrapped her perfect form with a beauty clear and warm. The Drowned Lover by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Are faint are her limbs, and her footstep is weary, yet far must the desolate wanderer roam. Though the tempest is stern and the mountain is dreary, she must quit at deep midnight her pitiless home. I see a swift foot dash the dew from the whirlpool as she rapidly hastens to the green grove of myrtle, and I hear as she wraps round her figure the kirtle, stay the boat on the lake, dearest Henry I come. High swelled in the bosom the throb of affection, as lightly a form bounded over the lea, and arose in the mind every dear recollection. I come, dearest Henry, and wait but for we. Or sad when dear hope ever sorrow is soothing, and sympathy swells if a soft bosom is moving, and the mind the mild joys of affection is proving, as the stern voice of fate that bids happiness flee. O dark Lord, the clouds of that horrible eve, and the moon dimly gleam through the tempested air. Oh, how could fond visions such softness deceive? Oh, how could false hope rend the bosom so fair? The love's pallid course of white surges are laving, o'er his form is fierce swell of a tempest is raving. But fear not, parting spirit, the goodness is saving, in eternity's bowers a seat for beware. The Irishman's Song by Percy Bysshe Shelley. The stars may dissolve, the fountain of light may sink into near-ending chaos and night. All mansions must fall and earth vanish away, but thy courage or errand may never decay. See the wide vasting ruin extends all around. Our ancestors' dwelling lies sunk on the grounds. Our foes ride and triumph throughout our domains, and our mightiest heroes lie stretched on the plains. Our dead is the harp which was wont to give pleasure. Our sunk is our sweet country's rapturous measure, and the worn out is waked in the calengar of spears. A dread yell of slogan yet sounds in our ears. Ah, where are the heroes, triumphant in death? Convulsed they recline on the blood-sprinkled heath of a yelling ghost, right from the blast that sweeps by, and, my countrymen, vengeance incessantly cry. The Past by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Wilt thou forget the happy hours which we burned in love's sweet bowers, heaping over the corpses cold, blossoms and leaves instead of mould, blossoms which were the joys that fell, and leaves the hopes that yet remain? Forget the dead, the past? Oh, yet there are ghosts that may take revenge for it, memories that make the heart a tomb, regrets which glide through the spirit's gloom, and with ghastly whispers tell the joy once lost is pain. The Rude Wind is Singing by Percy Bysshe Shelley. The rude wind is singing, the dirge of the music dead, the cold worms are clinching, where kisses were lately fed. The Sunset by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Where late was one within whose subtle being, as light and wind within some delicate cloud that fades amid the blue moon's burning sky, genius and death contented. None may know the sweetness of a joy which made his breath fail, like the trances of a summer air, when with the lady of his love, who when first knew the universe of mingled being, he walked along the pathway of a field, which to the east the whole wood shadowed o'er, but to the west was open to the sky. Where now the sun had sunk, but lights of gold hung on the ashen clouds, and on the points of the far level grass and nodding flowers, and the old dandelion's hoary bird, and, mingled with the shades of twilight, lay on the brown messy woods, and in the east the broad and burning moon and lingering rose between the black trunks of the crowded trees, where the faint stars were gathering overhead. It is not strange, Isabel, said the youth. I never saw the sun. We will walk here tomorrow. Who shall look on it with me? That night the youth and lady mingled lay in laugh and sleep, and when the morning came, the lady found her lover dead and cold. They then believed that God in mercy gave it stroke. The lady died not, nor grew wild, but year by year lived on. In truth, I think, a gentleness and patience and sad smiles, and that she did not die, but lived to tend her aged father, were a kind of madness, if madness 'tis to be unlike the world. For but to see her were to read the tale, woven by some subtle bard, to make hard hearts dissolve away in wisdom working grief. Her eyes were black and lustrous and wan, her eyelashes were worn away with tears, her lips and cheeks were like things dead, so pale, her hands were thin, and through the wandering veins and weak articulations might be seen Daddy's ruddy light. The tomb of thy dead self, which one waxed ghost inhabits night and day, is all lost child and no remains of we. Inheritor of more than earth can give, passionless calm and silence unreproved. Wherever the dead find, oh, not sleep but rest, and are the uncomplaining things we seem, or life, or drop in the deep sea of love, or wet like wine mine epitaph were peace, which was the only moan she ever made. The Tower of Famine by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Amid the desolation of a city, which was the cradle and is now the grave of an extinguished people, suffered pity. Weeps o'er the shipwrecks of oblivion's wave, there stand the Tower of Famine, as it built upon some prison homes whose dwellers rave. For bread and gold and blood, pain linked to guilt, agitates the light flame of her hours until its vital oil is spent or spilled. Where stand the pile, a tower mid with towers and sacred dooms, each marble ribbled roof, the brazen gated temples and the bowers of solitary wealth, the tempest-proof pavilions of the dark Italian air are by its presence dimmed. They stand aloof and are withdrawn, so that the world is bare, as if a spectre wrapped in shapeless terror amid a company of ladies fair should glide and glow till it became a mirror of all the beauty in the hair and hue. The life of her sweet eyes, with all its error, should be absorbed till way to marble grew. The Viewless and Invisible Consequence by Percy Bysshe Shelley. The viewless and invisible consequence watches thy goings out and comings in, and hovers o'er thy guilty sleep, unveiling every newborn deed, and faults more ghastly than those deeds. The world's wanderers by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Tell me, thou star, whose wings of light speed thee in thy fiery flight, in what cavern of the night with thy pinions close now? Tell me, moon, thou pale and grey, pilgrim of heaven's homeless way, in what depth of night or day seek'st thou repose now? Where the wind who wanderest like the world's rejected guest, hast thou still some secret nest on a tree or billow? Thoughts come and go in solitude by Percy Bysshe Shelley. My thoughts arise and fade in solitude. The words that wood and west, that melts away like moonlight in the heaven of spreading day. How beautiful they were, how firm they stood, flecking the starry sky with woven pearl. Time by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Unfathomable sea, whose waves are years, ocean of time whose waters of deep woe are brackish with the salt of human tears. O shoreless flood, which in thy ebb and flow clasp the limits of mortality, and sick of prey, yet holding on for more, vomitest thy wrecks on its inhospitable shore. Treacherous and calm and terrible in storm, who shall put forth on thee, unfathomable sea? Time long past by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Like the ghost of a dear friend dead is time long past. A town which is now forever fled, a hope which is now forever past. A love so sweet it could not last was time long past. There were sweet dreams in the night of time long past, and was it sadness or delight, each day a shadow onward cast, that made us wish it yet might last, that time long past. There's regret, almost remorse, for time long past. As like a child's beloved course, a father watches, till at last beauty is like remembrance cast from time long past. To a friend released from prison by Percy Bysshe Shelley. For me, my friend, if not the tears that tremble in my faint eyes, and my heart beat fast with feelings which make rapture pain resemble, yet from my voice with falsehood start aghast, I thank thee, that the tyrant keep his chains and tears, yea, let him weep with rage to see thee freshly rising like strength from slumber, from the prison, which he vainly hoped the soul to bind, which on the chains must pray but fetter humankind. To a Star by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Sweet star, which gleaming over darksome scene, of fleecy clouds of silvery radiance fliest, spangled of light on evening's shadowy veil, that shoots the daybream from the waveless lake, lighting the hour of sacred love. More sweet when the expiring morn star's palely fires, sweet star, when varied nature sinks to sleep and all is hushed. All, save the voice of love, whose broken murmurings swell the balmy blast of soft Favonius, which at arrival sighs in the ear of stillness, out the aught but lulled the slaves of interest to repose, with that mild, pitying gaze. Oh, I would look at thy dear beam, till every bond of sense became an amour. To Death by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Death, where's thy victory? To triumph whilst I die, to triumph whilst thine ebon wing enfolds my shuddering soul. O Death, where's thy sting? That when the tides of murder roll, when nations groan, that kings may bask in bliss. Death, canst thou boast of victories such as this, when in his hour of pomp and power his blow the mightiest murder gave, mid nature's cries the sacrifice of millions to glut the grave? When sunk the tyrant, desolation's slave, how freedom's lifeblood streamed upon thy shrine. Stern tyrant, couldst thou boast of victories such as mine? To know in dissolution's void that mortal's baubles sunk decay, that everything but love destroyed must perish with its kindred clay. Perish ambition's crown, perish her sceptred sway. From death's pale front fades pride's fastidious throne, and death's dim vault will lurid fires desay. That envy light as heaven-born virtue's beam, but all the cares subside, which lurk beneath the tide of life's unquiet stream. Yes, this is victory. When on yon rock, whose dark form glooms the sky, to stretch these pale limbs when the soul is fled, to battle the lean passions of a prey, to sleep within the palace of the dead. Oh, not the king around whose dazzling throne, as countless counters mock the words they say, dreams amid the bud of glory blown, as I in this cold bed and faint expiring groan. Tremble, ye proud, whose grandeur mocks the woe which robs the column of unnatural state. You the planings, faint and low, for misery's torture soul that flows shall usher to your fate. Tremble, ye conquerors, at whose fell command wharf ye and rides over a peaceful land. Your desolation's gory throng shall bear for victory along to that mysterious strand. To Italy, by Percy Bysshe Shelley. As the sunrise to the night, as the north wind to the clouds, as the earthquake's fiery flight, ruining mountain solitudes, everlasting Italy, weavers hopes and fears on we. To Mary who died in this opinion, by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Maiden quadricolor of sorrow, struggling in thine haggard eye, firmness dare to bow from the wreck of destiny. For the ray morn's bloom revealing can never boast so bright in hue as that which mocks concealing, and sheds its loveliest light on you. Yet is the tide departed which bound thy lovely soul to bliss, has it left thee broken-hearted in a world so cold as this. Yet thou, fainting fair one, so self thy cup is given, dream thou'lt meet thy dear one, never more to part in heaven. Existence would I barter for dreams so dear as wine, and smile to thy imagery on affection's bloodless shrine. Note I change for pleasure that withered hand and ashy cheek, in my heart enshrine the treasure such as forces mine to pray. Tomorrow, by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Where art thou, beloved, tomorrow, when young and old and strong and weak, rich and poor, through joy and sorrow, where sweet smiles we ever seek, in thy place, a well a day, we find the things we fled today. Tonight, by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Swiftly walk over the western wave, spirit of night, out of the misty eastern cave, where all the long and lonely daylight overwolves dreams of joy and fear, which make thee terrible and dear, swift be thy flight. Wrap her form in the mantle grey, star enwrought, blind with thine hair the eyes of day, kiss her until she be wearied out, and wander o'er city and sea and land, touching all the fine opiate want, come long sought. When I arose and saw the dawn, I sighed for we. The light rode high and the dew was gone, and noon lay heavy on flower and tree. The very day turned to his rest, lingering like an unloved guest, I sighed for we. Thy brother Death came and cried, wouldst for me? Thy sweet child sleep, the filmy-eyed, murmur like a noontide bee, shall I nestle near thy side? Wouldst for me? And I replied, no, not we. Death will come when thou art dead, soon, too soon. Sleep will come when thou art fled. Of neither would I ask the boon I ask of thee, beloved night. Swiftly wine approaching flight, come soon, soon. To one singing, by Percy Bysshe Shelley. My spirit like a charmed bark doth swim upon the liquid waves of wise sweet singing, far, far away into the regions dim of rapture, as a boat with swift sails winging its way adown some many-winding river speeds through dark forests of the water swinging. To the mind of man, by Percy Bysshe Shelley. For living light within the rainbow hues clothes this naked world, and of the sea and earth and air and all the shapes that be in peopled darkness of this wondrous world, the spirit of a glorious dust diffuse, truth for vital flame, mysterious thought, that in this mortal frame of things with unextinguished lustre burns, nor pale and faint, nor high to heaven upcurled, that ere as thou dost languish still returnest, and ever before the pyramids. So soon as from the earth formless and rude one living step had chased drear solitude, or bird, thought, the brightness charmed the lids of the vast snake eternity who kept the tree of good and evil. To the moon, by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Bright wanderer, fair coquette of heaven, to whom alone it has been given to change and be adored forever. Envy not this dim world, for never but once within its shadow grew one fair as. To the moon, by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Art thou pale for weariness of climbing heaven and gazing on the earth, wandering companionless among the stars that have a different birth, and ever changing like a joyless eye that finds an object worth its constancy? The chosen sister of a spirit that grazes on we till in we it betides. To the Moonbeam, by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Moonbeam, leave the shadowy veil to bathe this burning brow. Moonbeam, why art thou so pale, as thou walk'st over dewy dale, where humble wildflowers grow? Is it to mimic me? But that can never be, for thine orb is bright and the clouds are light, that at intervals shall have a star-stopped night. Nor all is deathly still on earth, nature's tired frame reposes, and o'er the golden morning's birth its radiant hues discloses, flies forth its balmy breath. But mine is the midnight of death, and nature's morn to my bosom forlorn brings but a gloomier night, implants the deadlier frown. Wretch, suppress the glare of madness, struggling in thine haggard eye, for the keenest throb of sadness, pale despair's most sickening sigh, is but to mimic me, and this must ever be, when the twilight of care and the night of despair seem not bliss, but joys to the pangs that rankle there. To the People of England by Percy Bysshe Shelley. People of England, ye who toil and groan, who reap the harvest which are not your own, who weave the clothes which our oppressors wore, and for your own take the inclement air, who build warm houses, and are gods who give them all they have, and nurse them from the cradle to the grave. To the Queen of my heart by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Shall we roam, my love, to the twilight growth, and the moon is rising bright? Oh, I'll whisper where in the cold night air, what I dare not in broad daylight. I tell thee a part of the thoughts that start to being when thou art nigh, and thy beauty more bright than the stars' soft light shall seem as a weft from the sky. And the pale moonbeam and tower and stream sheds a flood of silver sheen. How I love to gaze as the cold ray strays over thy face, my heart's thrown green. Wilt thou roam with me to the restless sea, and linger upon the steep, and list to the flow of the waves below, while they toss and roar and leap? Those boiling waves and the storm that raves at night over a foaming crest resemble the strife that from earliest life the passions have raged in my breast. Or come when I drove to the sea or the grove, and the moon is rising bright, and I whisper where in the cool night air what I dare not in broad daylight. To Wordsworth by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Poet of nature, thou hast wit to know that things depart which never may return. Childhood and youth, friendship and love's first glow, have fled like sweet dreams, leaving thee to mourn. These common woes I feel. One loss is mine, which thou too feelest, yet I alone deplore. For word is a lone step whose lighted shine on some frail bark on winter's midnight roar. Thou hast like to a rock-built refuge stood over the blind and battling multitude. In honored poverty thy voice did weave songs consecrate to truth and liberty. Deserting these, thou leavest me to grief, thus having been what thou shouldst cease to be. The variation of a Song of the Moon by Percy Bysshe Shelley. As the violet's gentle eye gazes on the azure sky, until its hue grows like what it beholds, as the grey and empty mist lies like solid amethyst of wisdom mountain it enfolds, when the sunset sleeps upon its snow. As a strain of sweetest sound wraps itself the wind around, and the voiceless wind be music too, as all too dark, vain and dull, basking in what is beautiful, is full of light and love. Victoria by Percy Bysshe Shelley. 'Twas dead of a night when I sat in my dwelling, when a glimmering lamp was expiring and low. Around the dark tide of a tempest was swelling, along the white moonbeams night ravens were yelling, my bodingly presaged destruction and woe. 'Twas when I started, the wild storm was howling, naught was seen, save a lightning which danced in the sky. Above me the crash of the thunder was rolling, and low chilling murmurs the blast waved by. My heart sank within me, unheeded the war of the battling clouds on the mountain tops broke. Unheeded the thunder peal crashed in mine ear. This heart, hard as iron, a stranger to fear, but conscious as low, noiseless, whispering spoke. 'Twas when that her form on the whirlwind upholding, the ghost of the murdered Victoria strode. In her right hand a shadowy shroud she was holding. She swiftly advanced to my lonesome abode. I wildly went caught on the tempest to bear me. War by Percy Bysshe Shelley. Ambition, power, and avarice now have hurled death, fate, and ruin on a bleeding world. See, on yon heath what countless victims lie. Hark what loud shrieks ascend through yonder sky. Tell them the cause, 'tis sure the avenger's rage has swept these myriads from life's crowded stage. Hark to that groan, an anguished hero dies. He shudders in death's last agonies. Yet does a fleeting hectic flush his cheek. Yet does his parting grief essay to speak. O God, my wife, my children, monarch woe, for whose support this fainting frame lies low, for whose support in distant lands I bleed. Let his friends welfare be the warrior's meed. He hears me not, ah no, kings cannot hear, for passion's voice is styled the listless ear. For thee then, mighty God, I lift my moan, woe will not scorn a suppliant's anguished groan. Oh now I die, but still as death's fierce pain, God hears my prayer, we meet again. He spake, reclined him on death's bloody bed, and with a parting groan his spirit fled. Oppressors of mankind, to you we owe the baleful streams from whence these miseries flow. For you how many a mother weeps her son, snatched from life's course ere half his race was run. For you how many a widow drops a tear in silent anguish on her husband's bier. Is it then thine almighty power, she cries, when tears of endless sorrow dim these eyes? Is this the system which by powerful sway, which else in shapeless chaos sleeping lay, formed and approved? It cannot be, but oh, forgive me heaven, my brain is wrought by woe. 'Tis not, he never bade the war note swell, he never triumphed in the work of hell. Monarchs of earth, thines the baleful deed, why never crimes for which my subjects bleed? Ah, when will come the sacred fated time, when man unsullied by his leader's crime, despising wealth, ambition, pomp and pride, will stretch him fearless by his foeman's side? Or when will come the time when o'er the plain no more shall death and desolation reign? When will the sun smile on the bloodless field, and the stern roy's arm the sickle wield? Not while some king in cold ambition's dreams plans for the field of death's plotting schemes, not whilst the private peak of the public fall, and one frail mortal's mandate governs all. Swelling with command and mad with dizzying sway, who sees unmoved his myriads fade away, careless so lives or dies, so that he gains some trivial point for which he took the pains. What when are kings? I see the trembling crowd, I hear the fulsome clamours echoed loud. The stern oppressor plashed appears so wild, but April's sunshine is the monarch's smile. Kings are but dusk. The last eventful day will level all and make them lose their sway. Will dash the sceptre from the monarch's hand, and from the warrior's grasp rest the ensanguined brand. O peace of peace, art thou forever gone? Is a fair form indeed forever flown? And love and concord hast thou slipped away, as if incongruous with thy parted sway? Alas, a fear thou hast, for none appear, now o'er the Percy earth stalks giant fear, of war and woe and terror in his train. Lightning he pauses on the embattled plain, then speeding swiftly over the ensanguined heath, has left the frightful work to hell and death. Seek our ruin jerks his bloody stained car, he scans the battle's carnage from afar. Hell and destruction mark his mad career, he tracks the rapid step of hurrying fear. Whilst ruined towns and smoking cities tell that thy work, monarch, is a work of hell. It is thy work. I hear a voice repeat, shakes the broad bases of a blood-stained seat, and at the orphan's side the widow's moan totters the fabric of a guilt-stained throne. It is thy work, O monarch. Now the sound fainter and fainter, yet is borne around, yet to enthusiast ears the murmurs tell, that heaven, indignant at the work of hell, will soon the hated cause remove, which tears from earth peace, innocence, and love. We meet not as we parted, by Percy Bysshe Shelley. We meet not as we parted, we feel more than all may see. The bosom is heavy-hearted, and mindful of doubt for me. One moment has bound the free. That moment is gone forever, like lightning that flashed and died. Like a snowflake upon the river, like a sunbeam upon the tide, which the dark shadows hide. That moment from time was singled as the first of a life of pain. The cup of its joy was mingled, delusion too sweet were vain, too sweet to be mine again. Sweet lips, could my heart have hidden that its life was crushed by you, ye would not have and forbidden the death which your heart so true sought in your briny dew. Methinks to little cost, for a moment so found, so lost. What man gain fairly, by Percy Bysshe Shelley? What man gain fairly, where they should possess, and children may inherit idleness from him who earns it, this is understood. Private injustice may be general good, but he who gains by base and armed wrong or guilty fraud or base compellions may be despoiled, even as a stolen dress is stripped from a convicted thief, and he left in the nakedness of infamy. When soft winds and sunny skies, by Percy Bysshe Shelley. When soft winds and sunny skies with the green earth harmonize, and the young and dewy dawn, bold as an unhaunted fawn, of the windless heaven is gone, laugh, for ambushed is the day, clouds and whirlwinds watch their prey. When the lamp is shattered, by Percy Bysshe Shelley. When the lamp is shattered, the light and the dust lies dead, when the cloud is scattered, the rainbow's glorious shed, and the lute is broken, sweet tones are remembered not, and the lips have spoken, loved accents are soon forgot. As music and splendor survive not the lamp and the lute, the heart's echoes render no song when the spirit is mute. A song but sad dirges, like a wind through a ruined cell, of a mournful surge that ring the dead seaman's near. When hearts have once mingled, laughter leaves a well-built nest, a weak one is singled to endure what is once possessed. I laugh who bewailest the frailty of all things here. Why choose you the frailest for your cradle, your home, and your briar? Its passions will rock we as the storms rock the ravens on high. Bright reason will mock we like the sun from a wintry sky. From thy nest ever rafter will rot, and thine eagle home leave thee naked to laughter when leaves fall and cold winds come.